Hi, my name is Hannah Gallagher, and today we are going to go through my reflection on learning for linguistics. Introduction. For the past 4 years, I have been blessed to work in a very diverse school district. During that time, I have learned many different things about working with a diverse student population. I think the most important thing that I have learned is the fact that all of my students are unique, no matter where they come from, or if I have two students that come from the exact same area. Every English language learner has their own story and background. And if I want to support and do my best to support their learning journey, I need to know them as a person. What are their likes? What are their dislikes? And most importantly, what culture do they come from? And what are those aspects that still stick in their head to help them learn the English language? New information. When I began this course 5 weeks ago, I wasn't sure what to expect. I had only taken one linguistics course before this during my bachelor's degree, and it had been very difficult for me. We had learned a lot of phonemes and the reasons behind them. And honestly, that was extremely difficult for me, and it didn't stick much in my head. So I was very worried about this course. I have since learned many different things about the English language and the languages that my students speak. Some of the most surprising information and the most interesting information I learned was when we researched students' mother tongues during week 2 of this course. During this project, I learned about some of the more popular languages that are spoken in my school. One of the most popular languages currently in my school is Haitian Creole. I learned that Haitian Creole contains 32 letters instead of the 26 like we use, and uses only one pronoun, whereas we use she, he, they, it, and so on. I also learned that they do not use plural forms of nouns, such as cups. They would only say cup. This information helped me have a better understanding on why certain students in my class were struggling with these concepts. This also showed me how important it is to learn more about the different languages that are spoken in my classroom so that I can do a better job supporting my students. If I hadn't known this information, I would have continued to wonder why select students were struggling with the use of plural or even in certain languages where they don't use capital letters. Why is that an issue? So now knowing this information, I will do better in the future helping support those students. Background. Knowledge from other courses has allowed me to have a strong background on the struggles ELL students face while learning another language. Being an interventionist, I also have a general idea on the types of supports that are placed in a school environment, especially for my district. With this background information, I was able to look at potential areas of improvement and see why linguistics can be difficult for students from different cultures. This allowed me to begin looking at my students' strengths and what they might be struggling with different English concepts. Personal experience. There's nothing like having a personal experience to learn what it's truly like to be at ELL or even at SEL. As an interventionist, I've had a ton of experience observing ELL students and the struggles they go through. However, this summer I decided I need to experience firsthand what it was like being a second language learner. To do this, I traveled to Costa Rica for the summer and went to an immersive Spanish program. This personal experience was very powerful, and my learning was super intensive. I went into the program with no prior background of speaking Spanish. I lived with a host family that knew only basic English, and I lived in a town where many of the locals did not speak English. Day after day, I was surrounded by my new language and forced to use my basic Spanish to get around. This was very difficult for me. I felt completely outside my comfort zone, and it allowed me to look into how my students were feeling. My brain was constantly working. I was dreaming in Spanish, but at the end of it, I really understood what my students had gone through and how stressful this experience could be. Learning The linguistics of another language also showed me that I didn't know English quite as well as I thought I did. Learning and needing to know the building blocks of your own language definitely helps you learn your second language. My beliefs and attitudes after taking this class is that I need to continue protecting my students' first language in order to help them build their second language. Second language acquisition happens by applying L1 foundations to L2 elements. This, in turn, shows me that I need to better understand what language acquisition was. Before starting this class, I had no idea what language acquisition was. But now I understand that it's an amazing trait that every human is born with. Every infant is a natural born linguist, capable of mastering any of the world's 7,000 languages like a native. I also learned that language acquisition can be broken down into two categories. First, language acquisition, and second, language acquisition. This is important because many times people try and force ELL students to only use their L2. They don't realize how important it is for them to be able to use their L1 to further their L2 language. Immigrant students and their families. After taking this course, I continue to believe that schools need to make strong connections with families to help students be successful. We also need to educate our families and let them know that it's important for our students to continue using their L1 languages at home. This includes them reading, writing, and speaking their L1. According to Cummins, it is important for us to help these students make the connections between their first language and their second language. This in turn will help students' language development. I truly felt this while I was out in Costa Rica learning Spanish. I found that when they were talking about verb pasado or futuro, so verbs in the past, verbs in the future, I understood that, but then they started getting further into the grammar of English and how that applies to Spanish, and I was lost. So if we continue to educate our families and let them know that it's important for them to educate their students in their L1s, when I talk about these elements in our classroom, they'll do better. After taking this course and learning more about my linguistic, social, and cultural identity, I feel stronger that we need to empower our students to share about their culture. We can do this through implementing more projects where students have a chance to share about where they come from. Through the use of these differences, students will become stronger and have more resilience and be more open to the diverse ideas and cultures around them. I think that my school district is very neat and diverse, and being able to embrace that diversity and show our cultural identity will make our students more powerful and just know that differences make us stronger. In the future, I would like to continue learning more about linguistics. I have found it very helpful to learn about students' mother tongues. The information I learned during this project not only helped me teach students and understand their difficulties, it also helped me understand their cultures and a better way to communicate with their families. I learned what is rude, what is polite in different cultures, and through this, I realized that not all families want virtual communication. Some families prefer face to face. And if I am using the correct form of communication, I will be able to get more information home, which in turn makes a stronger school home connection, which can make students more successful. Useful information. The information in this course that has been immediately useful to me is that I don't know English as well as I thought I did. Many of the things that we learned out in this class are things that I learned as a native speaker, and I didn't understand what they were called. I didn't understand the reasoning behind these. And so when my students in my classroom would ask me why we use these rules, I couldn't tell them other than that's just how it is, which is not helpful or conductive to a student that is learning a second language. My personal plan going forward is to continue learning about linguistics. And I laid out this plan that helps me look at why we use conjunctions, why I need to use different forms of communication and direct communication. I need to learn more about punctuation. And all of these different little pieces are going to help me learn more about linguistics. And they also showed me that I need to use and include certain concepts into my lesson plans. For example, I teach an oral language group, which is full of English language learners, and some of them are LEPs, limited English, and some of them are NEPs, non limited. Okay. And through the use of phonological awareness and speech perception, my students are going to learn how to properly pronounce words, and at the same time, they're going to gain that deeper understanding. So, my plan in the future is not only to learn more about linguistics, it's going to be to think and focus on implementing these pieces into my lesson plans so that my students are understanding and getting that important background on why we use these pieces in our language. Conclusion. All in all, this course has been extremely useful. I have found many areas that I wish to continue strengthening to better support my students. I also now have a plan for where I'm going to continue my learning after this class ends. I feel that this is a very key part because even though this course is coming to an end, I need to continue learning about linguistics to better support my students in the future. These are my references that I used within this presentation through the ideas and concepts, and I really appreciate all of your support in the production of this course and the resources that you provided me. So thank you very much.